All right, data scientists, welcome back to our study of R. During this async week, you're going to look a little bit more in detail into the ggplot package. We're going to start to look at some different types of data visualizations. We're going to look at some scatter plots today. We'll move on to line plots, line graphs on Wednesday. But again, this is all in the ggplot package. So because we already used and we already installed the ggplot and the readr packages in our exam workspace, we're going to go ahead and start in this exam workspace, but we don't want any of this. The only thing that we want from this workspace is the libraries that we've installed. So what we can do is we can just clear out the console. We can go back to our files here, and then we can clear out any objects that we have. And then we don't even need the T2 exam R script because we're actually going to be creating a new R script. Okay, so now we have this workspace that has the readr packages installed. So then the only thing that I need to do in my new R script is to call the library. So library, we have readr. And then, like I said, the other library that we're going to be using, which is already installed in this workspace, is the ggplot2 library. So the second library again is ggplot2, and because it's already installed, all we have to do is just run these library commands, and now we have access to all those functions and the data sets that are in those packages. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do, very similar to what we did on the exam, is to create a new object called Spotify and copy the top50.csv, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on a new line, file data to that object. Okay, so a few people were struggling with this because they wanted to use the import little button feature here tool, and I told you that you need to learn how to actually just do this with writing code because it's really easy. It's just one line. The first thing you do to create that new object is just type the name of the object that you want to create. So if we want to create an object called Spotify, we type Spotify. And then we assign values to it. Well, what are we assigning? Well, we want to assign the values that are in this top50.csv file, which you can't see, it's off the screen, but let me see if I can move this down a little bit. There we go, top50.csv file. We want to assign this object this data. So we can't just do it by itself because it's a CSV file. We actually have to use the function in this package to be able to turn this into something that we can use in R. So it's read.csv because we are reading a CSV file, and then in quotation marks we need to use the exact name that we see in our files. So in this case it's top50.csv, and when we run that we should see that that object is created, Spotify. There's 50 different observations because there's 50 songs of 6 different variables. Okay, so this is exactly what we had from the exam. But now, instead of creating histograms and box plots, we're going to go ahead and create our first scatter plot using ggplot. So we're creating a scatter plot with colors to show a third variable. Okay. So I think we've already created scatter plots before. That's not too difficult to do. But a new thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding in a third variable, and we're going to be doing that with the color. Okay, so third variable with color. So let's go ahead and first create the scatter plot by itself. So that's ggplot. The data that we want to show is Spotify. And then remember, the next thing we need to do is we need to give it an aesthetic. So we need to say, okay, what's the x variable, what's going on the x-axis, what's the y variable, what's going on the y-axis. So in this case, what I want to show is I want to try to show a correlation between the length of a song and the rank. So I'm wondering, does the song length, so length, I believe it's length g underscore seconds, I believe. Make sure. length seconds, yep. And then I want to see if that has any effect on the rank of the song itself. So x equals length seconds, comma, y equals rank. And then I need to add in my geometry. So I can do plus, and then I could write it over here, the geom, but another thing that you can do just to keep it in the viewing window is press enter. So if you do plus and you press enter, that next line will be indented, and it's basically the same thing as just continuing this line out here, okay? And that just helps, you can kind of see all of your code in one window. All right, so plus, the geom that we're going to be using is geom underscore point. We did bars before. Today we're going to do point because we're creating a whole bunch of points on the scatter plot. And so if we do that and we run this, we can see that, okay, here's a scatter plot of the length of different songs and their ranks. And so you can see like this point down here, this is the lowest, this has the rank of 1. So this is the highest ranked song. This is the best song or the most played song on Spotify. How long was it? Well, it was a little bit under 200 seconds long. So it looks like there's like the second highest ranked song was like over 300 seconds. So if we were trying to say, oh, shorter songs are more popular, well, that's not what the data says. Really, there's no strong correlation. You don't see any trend either going up or going down when we look at this correlation between length and song rank. But if we wanted to add in a little bit more information, we want to say, okay, well, you know, are rap songs, are they traditionally like longer than maybe pop songs, or pop songs longer? And if they are longer or shorter, are they ranked higher or maybe ranked lower? So if we want to add in some color to show this third variable, all we have to do in the aesthetic function is just add in a new argument. And that argument is going to be color equals, and then we have to put in a categorical variable. So if we wanted to maybe show the different genres and where they fell in length and rank, then we would do color equals genre. And you can see that when we go and we run this, what does it add? Well, it adds in some color so we can get to see a little bit better of an idea of what songs these are exactly. So if we look, you know, this is purple, purple, purple. So these are all the shorter songs. Well, I wonder what genre that is. Oh, interesting. It looks like the rap songs, they're shorter songs that are in the top 50. What are the longer ones? Well, these are some pink up here, pink here. The reggae, if you've ever listened to reggae, it traditionally goes on for a long time. So those reggae songs, those are really, really long, but it looks like they're ranked pretty high as well. And then the majority, we have a ton of songs that are between 150 seconds and looks like 225 seconds. That's like the golden time. And those span all different genres. So you have some electronic, some hip hop, some pop in there. But again, if you're looking at those, you know, pop songs, you would think, you know, okay, well, they're going to be mostly between 150 seconds and 225 seconds. The rap songs, those are going to be a little bit shorter. And that's where this adding in the colors can be pretty beneficial. Okay, now if you see under here, this is not very pretty. See, this is length underscore seconds, and I don't have a title on here. So I want to add in some labels, and to do that, remember, when we're doing ggplot, we're just adding on layers. So if I do plus, I can do enter. To add a title, remember that's gg title, and in quotation marks, we would say song length versus rank for Spotify top 50. Okay, and then if I want to add in a nice X label doesn't have this underscore in it, that gives me a better idea, that would be X lab, and then in quotation marks the length of the song, and that's in seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what happens when we add in those labels there. So you can see now we have Spotify capitalization top 50. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we have these nicer labels on here. This is really easy to read, and if you were trying to come up with some information, maybe you were an artist and you were trying to crack the top 50 of Spotify, depending on what genre, you would have some ideas of how long your song should be if you want to have it ranked really high. and you can kind of follow these trends. Okay, so let's try one more scatter plot with some colors using just this data set that we have so far. So if you remember back to the exam, the two different, well, I guess there were three. So there was three quantitative variables that we had. Rank was a quantitative variable, right? 1 through 50. The length of the song, that was a quantitative variable, right? So we had songs that were short all the way up to songs that were over 300 seconds. And then the last quantitative variable was the beats per minute. And we didn't really do anything with that in the exam, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to use that now. And we're going to try to see, okay, does the beats per minute, does that have some correlation with rank? And do songs from one genre have, in general, a trend when we're looking at the beats per minute? So again, we're going to create another plot, so ggplot. We're still going to be using the Spotify data. But this time, when we do our aesthetics, the x is going to not equal length in seconds. It's going to equal the beats underscore per underscore minute, because that's the name of the variable that contains the information about the beats per minute for each song. Again, our y variable is going to be rank. And then if we want to add in the color for genre, again, that's color equals genre. Okay, now we're not done. Obviously, we need to add in our geom. So again, this is going to be a scatter plot. So the geom that we're going to be adding in is a point. And then if we want to add in a title and an x-axis label, we'll go ahead and do that. So the main title, GG title, will be the beats per minute versus rank for Spotify top 50 songs. Okay, so I've got a main title on there. And then the last thing I need to add in is my X label, because the X label, it's going to have weird beats underscore per underscore minute. So we want to change that to be something that's easier to read, easier to understand. So xlab is going to be the beats per minute of song. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this, see if we have any errors, see if this all comes out all right. So again, we can see that we have our colors by genre. So you can see the different individual genres where they show up on here. But then we can also try to look for a trend. Like, is there some trend? Are there more popular songs? Like, are the higher rated songs, do they have a certain beats per minute? And very similar to when we were looking at the song length, no, there really isn't a correlation, right? We have some really popular songs that are right here, just under 125 beats per minute. We also have, like a next really popular song that's way up here at, close to 200 or over 200 beats per minute. So it doesn't look like there's really any trend when we're looking, is there a higher ranking for songs with a certain beat per minute? But maybe we can find some information about certain genres. So like, do certain genres, do they tend to have songs with maybe different beats per minute? And so I'm kind of looking at like this EDM, right? All these yellow dots that you have up here. I don't see any yellow dots up here. I don't see very many yellow dots when they come in terms of beats per minute. But it looks like a lot of these EDM songs are between 75 or maybe 70 and maybe 80 or it's 100, so 105, like 75 and 105 beats per minute, right? And they're all kind of ranked closer to the top, like, they're like closer to 50 than they are 1. So they're not rated as high as some of these pop songs and some of these rap songs. So that's kind of interesting. If you were an EDM artist, I don't know too much about EDM. I always thought that they had like really fast beat per minute, but I guess that's not true. Thinking about the faster songs, that's I guess there's a reggae song that has some fast beats per minute. But the pop songs, that makes sense. Latin for sure, like Latin's really quick music. So that makes sense if we're looking there. Okay, cool. So that is all we're going to go ahead and do for today. We're going to go ahead and we're going to look at more ggplots on our next class on Wednesday. But for today, this is it. So to get your credit for this asynchronous assignment, you need to do the markdown. So we need to do File, and then knit document. And then once we've knitted this document, we need to name it. So we will name this Scatterplot. Whoops, sorry. ggplot Scatterplots. And we'll go ahead and save that as a PDF, compile it. And then this is something that you should have saved on your computer so you can look back at it, maybe if you have a homework assignment or a test or quiz later on. But this is also what you're going to be saving and submitting for the Google Classroom assignment. So go ahead and download this, and then you'll upload it to Google Classroom. All right, we'll see you next class.